Hey Aca people, my name is Alex Vandenbroek. I am a singer, arranger, producer, Aca lover from Brisbane, Australia, and you are watching the Aca-Weekly. So the team over at Vocal Australia wanted to know who and what you wanted to see next on the Aca-Weekly, and I got voted in. So today I'm here to talk to you all about my process when it comes to arranging music. I kind of have two different ways I like to approach an arrangement. I guess I have my standard or my commissioned work process, and then my for funsies process, if you will. The first step in my standard process is to get to know the group I'm working with. This might mean I listen to a bunch of recordings of what they've done or watch some videos that they have online, getting to know the genres they like, but usually I'll sit down and have a conversation with them about what they want out of that particular arrangement. Do they want it to be true to the original, or do they want it to be a bit more creative and more of a reharmonization? How many people are singing in the group? How many soloists do they have? That sort of thing. The most important thing here for me is to find out the actual vocal ranges of everybody in the group, and particularly their strengths, weaknesses, and then the exact notes that are their extreme points. I think knowing the highest point and the lowest point of what you're working with is really critical when it comes to arranging. From there, I will go and listen to this song a lot, over and over again. Get to know the song back to front, basically. Step 3, usually I am transcribing out the melody and a very basic bass line to go with it. I find that regardless of whether it is true to the original or if it's a reharmonization, the melody usually doesn't change. It's the part that everyone recognizes when determining what song you're doing a lot of the time. I'll map out a really basic bass line for the arrangement. Sometimes I do this verse by verse, or I might do the whole song all at once, because then that takes me to my next step, which is filling out the arrangement. I think this is the fun part of coming up with the arrangement for me, is figuring out what all of the other voices are going to do and coming up with different textures and try a bunch of different things, basically. Sometimes I'll have a few different sessions open in Sibelius and just try different things with each one to see what I like. I like to get pretty creative with it. I think try a bunch of different things, because the worst thing that can happen is that you don't use it or you don't like it. It might sound a little bit silly, but one thing that I've found has really helped me in recent years with arranging is actually sitting down and singing through some of the phrases that you're writing. I've definitely been guilty a few times of writing something out and then going to sing it in a group setting and thinking, wow, this is actually really difficult to do. So if you kind of check as you go, sometimes it can save you a bit of hassle in the long run. Then I come to my for funsies process, if you will. And where I was saying before that I like to listen to a song over and over again, sometimes I like to give myself the challenge of having only listened to a song once or twice and seeing what I come up with. Some of my best work, in my opinion, that I've ever done, I've done like this, not quite expecting where it's going to go or not really knowing the song and seeing what I can come up with. But it can be really fun just to let your mind wander and see what you come up with when you're writing it out. Another challenge I like to give myself sometimes is to do a full arrangement, start to finish, within 1 to 2 hours. I know that can sound pretty crazy to some people, but I find for me it's a good challenge just to keep myself going and keep the ball rolling creatively. And the worst thing that can happen is that I never use it and it's a total flop. Having said that, there have been a few times that I've done something like that and left it alone, and then a few years later I've picked it up again and thought about it, but then had other ideas come that I didn't have back then, and then I've managed to turn it into something that I really love. So you never know. I think just keep arranging, see what happens. I could sit here and talk about a cappella arranging all day. I absolutely love it. But that takes me to next week's episode. One of the other things you guys voted in was that you wanted to see a Q&A with me about arranging. So if you have any questions for me about arranging, feel free to leave them down below or send them to Vocal Australia via Instagram or Facebook, and I will do my very best to answer all of them in next week's Aca-Weekly. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to the Vocal Australia YouTube channel. Otherwise, see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Aca-Weekly by Vocal Australia. Be sure to subscribe to our channel to stay up to date.
No.